Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Or welcome back to the channel. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you're not familiar with me, glad you're here. Stick around. I hope you will. And I am checking in on this Friday morning, taping early Friday morning, the 23rd. Man, I've been sitting here for about 45 minutes, you all. Just, you know me and my notes, right? Sitting here with spirit, just meditating, had my candle, got my incense going, just there's so many things happening all at once, and I'm like, spirit, help me narrow it down, right? Get my topics together. So always delighted to be here with you all. A couple of things I want to mention before we go into the cards is so delighted to hear about the historic nominations, Oscar nominations around the movie centers. Many of you who've been with me for a while, I did a couple of workshops last year on the movie, spiritual lessons from the movie centers. I love knowing, and, as we've watched that film blow up, and so many people go, what's the big deal about this film? Is because, yes, it is deeply spiritual. There are incredible spiritual lessons around it, but it is multicultural. It is not just, a black film, or it was billed as that. A lot of people trying to down it, and the theaters, many of them said they weren't even planning to carry it in full fledged when it first came out. They thought it was just going to be a hit or miss, and lo and behold, what happened? And it's because there's this human element to it that so many people were able to connect to. It is multicultural. It is about good versus evil, or light versus dark. It is about racism. It is about putting things in the context of the history of this country. It is about love and bonds between friends in multiple cultures. It is just brilliant. And so I certainly encourage you to watch the film if you haven't already. And drop a note if you'd be interested. I'm happy to reprise my workshop. And do another session or two on it. If you'd be interested in taking a workshop with me on those spiritual lessons and some of those deeper meanings from, politically and spiritually on the film, I'd be happy to do another workshop on that. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. The second thing I wanted to bring up, I'm trying to remember. There were a couple of things Spirit said to share with you. I got it. They told me, I literally woke up this morning and they said, I was thinking about the Jack Smith hearings yesterday, which we're going to go into. And they said, this is essentially uh, two Americas that are forming right now, right? It is the Americas of the warped, that is literally the word they gave me, the warped versus the warriors. And in the context of what we saw play out yesterday, we know who is warped and his whole following, right? Trump and his following, his cabinet, that's the warped, the congressional folk that are, off the cliff. Those are the warped. And then we have the Jack Smiths of the world. We saw what played out yesterday in that hearing between some of the Capitol officers, or former officers, who were impacted by Jan 6. We had Michael Fannon, who faced off in a major way against that idiot, what's his name, Ivan Raiklin. Like, Michael was getting ready to go into him. If they had been outside on the street and that thing escalated, my money would have been on Michael all day long. Okay, we had Harry Dunn, who I absolutely love, just his presence, his energy. But the point is warped versus warriors, because we also had the guy with the patch and the cowboy hat, the one of the leaders, or maybe the leader of the Oath Keepers, apparently still around, still doing their thing. So it was a really interesting gathering in that hearing room, and just imagining and watching, imagining what was to come, and then watching the way that Jack Smith just masterfully handled every single thing, which we knew that he would. They will not. It's kind of like a different Tish James situation. They will not take him down. That said, I am ready to go to the cards now. I got some sweets going on. I put some water in back of me, because while I love my goddess, my black goddess, it was putting me in warrior mode, talking about warped versus warriors. And I just wanted to bring something a little more, lighten it up a little bit. So I got my little honey candle going already, had my incense going. You all, here's the deal. And we know this, it's just day by day watching it play out and staying strong and resilient in the meantime. Trump's GOP is crumbling. They are crumbling. And now we even have the House beginning to have a lot of friction with the Senate, right? Because after yesterday, at the end of the day, we understand the House took a vote around these phone records because that's what Jim Jordan just went on and on and on about when he questioned Jack Smith. This was supposed to be about the case, right? And he's just all about these phone records. There's some stuff there. There's some there. And in terms of his own, because now a video has surfaced from Jan 6 for entertainment purposes only. A video has surfaced of Jim Jordan running around in the building that day of January 6th. He gets a phone call. He takes off like somebody's chasing him. Like, what was that all about? What was that call all about? Did he have some sort of, the collusion aspect of it, right? For entertainment purposes only, who knows, supposedly, maybe, but the bottom line is there was a reason for that. There was a reason why he kept honing in on that aspect of it, as did many of the other GOP senators. It wasn't even about the matter at hand, really. It was about self-interest. So what I want to ask, I'm going to spirit for you all, because one really interesting thing that came out of that hearing, many interesting things, but one of them was Jack Smith said, when that case was dismissed, it was dismissed without prejudice, meaning it could be reopened, or another lawsuit in another form, in terms of who's named as defendants. Like, it ain't done because it was dismissed without prejudice. All right. So what I want to ask is, let's get to it. Is it coming back? Two things. I have said for a while now, I feel that I have seen Jack Smith as at least a very strong contender for Attorney General. And if that's the case, then we're talking about a different Department of Justice, a very different Department of Justice. And if, in fact, the Jan 6 case, all of the people, remember Jack Smith said he was relying, rather than it being a politically biased situation, the way he built his case, that the majority of the people that he had that he would have called to testify were cohorts of Frumps. We're in the insiders. That must have been and is still very, very scary. Spirit, will that case get reopened? Will the Jan 6 case get reopened in some form? Will there be another? The hanged man comes at another process with the lawsuit. The hanged man comes at the bottom of the deck with the Ace of Pentacles. I'm not going to ignore that. If you read with me, I see aces as a yes from Spirit, or my guides telling me I'm headed in the right direction. So the Ace of Pentacles, though, is slow. That's the timing. All of this has to, we got to get the other people out of there in order to get somebody like a Jack Smith in. But the hangman says, this kind of gets turned back around. Like this, it's not over. It's stalled, perhaps. It's in the wings. But the Ace of Pentacles says it comes back. And it comes back in a real way. We're talking pentacles. So it comes back like not just talked about, not just an idea of it, but it actually gets mounted. Now, Spirit, will Jack Smith be Attorney General? Will he take over the Department of Justice? When this is said and done, will he take over the Department of Justice? Page of Cups certainly would like him to. Everybody would, right? Certainly would like him to. Page of Cups. Will he take over? Will he be appointed Attorney General? A magician. Loving it. Loving it. Please confirm. And the Fool. Okay, the Magician and the Fool, new role for him, but it's also I will tell you, I'm getting so excited, like that's me personal. Let me stay in spirit. I do think there's a piece here where this would have to be about Jack Smith wanting to do it, and on the one hand, I feel he has enough personal conviction and integrity and power, and just incredible intelligence that he would want to, but also recognizing the price that he's even paid for, personally, otherwise, it's been a tough go. And so it would just have to be a moment of like, am I ready to do this? Because the work is going to be like unbelievable. The number of cases that would have to be filed, not just in regards to Jan 6, but in so many other instances where we know there's, activities, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, DHS, etc. Like there's going to be so many things, the Pentagon, like you name it. There's going to be so many things that a operative Department of Justice is going to have to go through. Will Jack Smith decide to do it? Clearly, he's going to be given the offer. There's the magician. There's the fool. There's the page of cups. Will he? Will he go through? Will he do it? The Six of Cups, I think he will. But Six of Cups being a card, they call it a card of nostalgia. Many of them, I know many of you are readers and you know that. But in this context, going back to that Cups energy, the flow, that might be why Spirit had me go with that ocean and that sunrise this morning. Because there's a flow, there's an overflow, there's an overwhelming sense of this is the time now to do it. And the Six of Cups is a very happy card, but it is also a card that refers to something in the past very often. So I think this is, yes, Spirit is saying he'll do it because he knows it's the right thing. He knows it needs to happen. And also I'm hearing now, like, why would he allow someone else, not from an ego perspective, but he has a personal commitment to it. There was a really powerful moment I know many of you saw as well yesterday with Jack Smith shaking the hands of those former Capitol police officers, right? And it was almost unspoken, like there was just an intensity. That man got an intense gaze. Woo! He's got an intense gaze. And there was just an intensity between Jack Smith when he was shaking the hand. We understand Harry Dunn even offered him some sort of like a police badge or something like that, just out of a gesture of respect. Yeah, I think it's looking real good, y'all. I think it's looking real good. So to that end, GOP folks like Jim Jordan et al., yeah, y'all got something to be concerned about. They did not receive pardons. The Jan Sixers did, but they didn't receive pardons. So there you have it. And while I'm asking, let's go ahead. Spirit, will Jim Jordan be brought up on charges for his role, potentially, supposedly, perhaps, in Jan 6? And certainly the role that he's playing in this malicious prosecution of Jack Smith. Will Jim Jordan face consequences for his role in all of this? Will Jim Jordan specifically, not only Knight of Pentacles? And here comes the Magician again. Y'all saw me shuffle. Here comes the Magician again with the Hermit. I never ignore a major arcana. Magician and the Hermit. He's in some trouble. The Knight of Pentacles looks like it's already in movement. Knights are movement. And I love the way this is coming in Pentacles, because Pentacles moves slow, but it's solid. It's like building a case the way that Jack Smith did, right? It's Pentacles is like a sure thing. It's not ideas. It's not just momentum. It's a sure thing. And he's already Knight movement already now. Jordan is already in question, which is probably one reason why he's been acting this way. All right, you all. Second thing I want to look at, big money. Spirit said early last year, my channel, my work here, and I'm sure many others on the platform have also said, a lot of what was going to happen in terms of the crumbling of Trump and his whole cadre was money, big money. We saw how quickly he backed off when the markets went wonky, when he went over to the World Economic Forum and said, and the markets were going wonky over Greenland, and boom, then he was like, well, maybe not, did the taco thing, right? Because the markets, Spirit has always said that this big money situation, the oligarchs, the billionaire class, all of this, that they would go along with anything as long as it only hurt or harmed the populace. So healthcare, jobs, all of it. You all know. We're all living it. But the minute it got to money, and harming their 401ks and harming their investment portfolios. Now we got an issue. So we understand that Trump has gone ahead and filed a $5 billion lawsuit against Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan over debanking. Okay, not even going to front with y'all. I'm not quite sure I understand what all that is, but the gist of it, from what I understand, is that apparently JPMorgan closed some of Trump's accounts. But we've already been hearing in connection with the Epstein files, because part of what would happen in the Epstein disclosures would be financial transfers. And that JP Morgan was, especially back in the day when Trump and Epstein were, bros, that a lot of those transfers, those wire transfers from Trump to Epstein, supposedly for entertainment purposes only, there's records of it. Now, if Trump has decided to throw down the gauntlet and go after Jamie Dimon, you better bet your bottom dollar. That's too many cards. I thought I was going to, no, but that's too many. You better bet your bottom dollar that a lot of the other moneyed class who've been, supposedly funding this ballroom and the rest of it, they're like, hold up. I want to go to Spirit and ask, Spirit, is the lawsuit against Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan Chase's Trump's lawsuit going to result in the disclosure of those wire transfers? Because we know it ain't coming from the DOJ no time soon, right? Are we going to see if that case proceeds? So two paths. Spirit just reminded me. One is going to settle. It ain't going to go anywhere. Trump is doing it to bluff Dimon and try to keep him in some form of compliance, or saying, I can cause trouble for you. But the other hand, he winds up in discovery, and this information comes out. We have the Knight of Wands. Okay, so that's the case at the bottom of the deck. The case has been filed. Things are in play. The ball is in play. Spirit, will this case that Trump has filed, the $5 billion lawsuit against Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan, will it result in the disclosure of the financial transfers, the wire transfers from Trump to Epstein? We have the Queen of Swords. That's Bondi. Trying to run interference. Queen of Cups. That feels like a tit for... Oh, no. That's Bondi and Susie Wiles working together. Are they trying to... Will they try and talk Trump into withdrawing that case? Will they try and talk him into withdrawing the case? 7 of Wands. No, that's pushing forward anyway. Are they setting him up? Or is he being set up? Spirit has said for a long time that there were insiders, and others have mused and said there are insiders looking to betray this man, right? And it would be betrayal from the inside, from his inner circle. Is this a setup? Did they encourage him to file this lawsuit so that the records can be disclosed without it having to come from Bondi? The Empress. Ooh, feminine divine. Queen of Cups, Queen of Swords. I'm getting that's Bondi and Susie Wiles. Because I think for some there, I don't know that Susie Wiles really likes Bondi per se, but remember, it's that whole Florida thing going on, right? They all know each other from way back in the day. They done sat up and had girlfriend chat over some wine, I'm sure many a night, or many a day for that matter, day drinking, perhaps, supposedly, allegedly, entertainment. But that's the two of them. And the Empress, you all. That is production. That is growth. That is expansion. That's also, Venus. But Venus in the sense of growth and fertility. And that's the documents. Will we see a production of financial records from JP Morgan as a result of this lawsuit, Spirit? Is this sort of a way to do an in run on Trump from inside his circle to actually get those documents out? The Ten of Pentacles, that's documents. Whoa. Whoa. The Two of Cups, that's the two women. The Five of Swords, that's the motions being filed, arguments being filed on both sides. Spirit, will this case go forward? We see the background with these women saying, here's why he was encouraged to do it. Why Frank was encouraged to file. Because they don't want the pressure. They want the pressure off of Bondi because she's right there on the borderline of contempt, right? But why haven't they done it yet? If they were really going to do it, if the GOP, if the Congress was really going to do it, what's up? So something's holding them back. So this is about protecting her, and there's the moon hiding. She's trying to hide. She's trying to avoid being held in contempt because the information she wants that information to come out in another way. Now that's not I don't want to misrepresent here. That's not saying, Spirit's not saying that contempt won't still be on the table, and that certainly from the public, the public outcry for the DOJ to comply, certainly that's not going anywhere. I'm looking at what's happening behind the scenes. And the High Priestess, another card, both of these very strong moon energy, what is not seen, what is hidden, but what is then brought to light. This was a maneuver. Somebody pushed him to file this lawsuit in a maneuver, knowing that if you do this, clearly they've got the records. They've got the financial records. You want to know why we debanked your accounts? You want to know why we closed your accounts? Because, buddy, we realized we were wish-washing all kind of money for you to this man. That's why. You all, I think, Spirit, will this case get shut down before too much damage can be done? The Two of Swords. I don't think so. And the Star. And the Tower. I think one way or another, whether it's through this lawsuit per se, or whether it's through some other sort of this backroom stuff that's going on to try and ease up on Bondi, but also everyone in the DOJ, because that Two of Swords, the conflict that they're having, is knowing they're not off the hook. Meaning, when all of this is said and done, and Spirit has been really clear with this, we're going to be talk about a Jack Smith as potentially the head of the DOJ. Yeah, there's going to be some prosecutions. There's going to be some disbarments. There's going to be some things going on. So, but it takes time. That's the Star. But here comes the Tower. It takes time. Star ruled by Uranus. Very much an Aquarius energy. We know how deeply we are about to go into some major Aquarius energy, like Aquarius like we never knew it before. We're already in Aquarius season, but we know that, all these planetary situations coming up, Neptune in Aries for one. Thank you for those who follow astrology, who drop those comments. I always read your comments. I appreciate that. That's what's happening. And then the Tower. It leads to this, but it takes time. There's reading after reading after reading, and day after day after day, we're being told, hold the line. But I'm also getting a reminding, going back to that Jack Smith reference and what we saw play out. Look how long and how much work and how tirelessly someone like a Jack Smith has done his job and stayed the course and still has a long road ahead of him, and potentially even longer should he become the attorney general, right? That's a spiritual concept that Spirit is saying. Be mindful of it. I know how tired and angry and frustrated and nightmarish it all seems, but there's also this, remember and think about and hone in on the people who are doing what needs to be done in this moment, and perhaps energetically tap into that is what Spirit is saying. Energetically tap into that. Send them the energy to continue to do what they need to be done, to do what needs to be done, to have protection, to have light, to have angelic and other supernatural powers around them so that they can continue to do that. But what is done with them is also done with you. All right? Okay. And finally, the last thing I wanted to take a look at today. So the Clintons potentially held in contempt because, that's been on the board for a while. Now, here's the thing. We remember Bill Clinton when some of the files started getting linked in the photographs. Remember, I guess it was back in December or November, whenever, towards the end of last year. And we started seeing some of these files come out. Bill Clinton was like, look, whatever. Put it all out there. Like, Bill was just like, fine. If this is what we're going to do, let's just go ahead and put it all out there. They offered, apparently, Bill and Hillary, they offered to meet, privately. They offered to try and cooperate, but no, that wasn't good enough. They want to embarrass them. They want to continue to threaten them. So we know that many people are ready to primary this small group of Democrats who crossed over and went with the Republicans to push this forward, this putting having the Clintons held in contempt. That aside, I'm wondering, there's some discussion out there around, and also spiritually, politically and spiritually, there's discussion around, was this a maneuver ultimately? Because if the DOJ proceeds with prosecution against Bill Clinton and potentially Hillary Clinton, now we're in discovery again. Now we start bringing out some documents. Are we going to see Epstein documents released from the Clintons, to the extent that they have communications, to the extent that Bill Clinton knows who was on the plane and who was in the rooms and who did what? And is Bill going to go for broke at this point in his life? We know Hillary will. We know Hillary will go for broke. There's the Ace of Cups at the bottom of the deck. And cups again. I knew something was drawing me to water today, y'all. Something was drawing me to water. Mixed with fire, right? The sun mixed with some fire. Yeah. That has a lot to do with it. And I'm not suggesting that the Dems that crossed over don't suck. But there's a bigger picture forming here. If the Clintons got to do this, number one, they are going to have ridiculous legal representation. They already do. But if it gets to the next level, you're gonna have attorneys and firms lined up around the block. We know that speaking of Jack Smith, we know he has formed a new law firm as well. There's a Three of Wands. This having momentum. Will the Clintons wind up providing Epstein documentation, Spirit, that will be made public? Are they going to, the high priestess, they're already reviewing, or they've had to review what they have, because they were hoping to furnish certain things. When they were subpoenaed, they were hoping to furnish certain things without the necessity of it going this far. So what they have that's in secret, that has not been furnished, Spirit, will we see it? Will it be released to the public? Whatever Bill and Hillary Clinton have, certainly Hillary to a lesser extent, the sun. Okay? The sun. I also feel like this is a timing element. Summertime? Is this going to reach a head by summertime where they, Two of Cups, That's Bill and Hillary. That's the two of them. And the Ten of Wands. It's going to be overwhelming. Oh, it's overwhelming for them because we know this is not pretty for Bill, right? And Lord knows it's not pretty for Hillary. All the other things that Hillary has been through, regarding Bill's escapades or whatever. So that Ten of Wands just feel, this is so much again on them. Knight of Cups, but it's in motion, y'all. It's in motion. They already know what they have. They already started gathering documents potentially to have to provide. And there's the Five of Swords. They're going to duke it out though. This will be another long process. Now, I don't know how long, let me back up on that. But this will be another process in terms of arguments between their counsel and the DOJ, if Congress does in fact proceed and this becomes a matter referred to the DOJ for prosecution. And the Lovers, that also feels like, so this is another decision situation they've got to make. But this again, ruled by Gemini, this is feeling like something between now and summer, or now and May and June. Are the Clintons going to go forward in litigation? Will the Clintons wind up having to go forward in litigation over this matter? Will this proceed to litigation? Eight of Cups. Who walks away? Page of Cups. And the King of Wands. That's Bill. I'm sorry, I didn't hold that up for you. So Eight of Cups, somehow they walk away. Or I almost feel like this is, Spirit just corrected me. This is Bill resigned to whatever. That's why he said when the pictures and stuff started coming out, he was like, let it all out. Do what you got to do. He's resigned. He's moved. He's almost like, listen, nothing else can happen, that could be more damaging, embarrassing, humiliating than what I've gone through in the past. And I'm also getting from this that while his name and his presence or whatever may have been in that mix, it is not in that mix in some of the ways, in a Sasha Riley kind of way. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Or Barros, I should say. And the Emperor. Okay, so that's Frump. Is Frump going to tackle on this? Justice. He's going to tackle at some point. But I think to a certain extent, some of this energy that we saw you all around the documents that the Clintons have, or records, phone, whatever, all the other things that would be subject to discovery, the DOJ on Frump's side, they kind of want to know exactly what they have. All right, they already know what they got on their end that they're not producing, but they want to know what they have. They want to know the risk of what could be produced on the Clintons' end of things should they proceed. And then once they have, so I think there's going to be some discussions between counsel. That's what that Five of Swords was about. There's going to be some discussions between counsel on both sides. Like, look, this is what we got. Is this what you, because if we move forward with this, this is what we're going to show. And I think that's when Taco's going to step up and go, okay, let's, we've jerked them around. Where's that ten of Wands? We made our point, and maybe we need to hold up for a hot second. So saying all of that to say, the Clintons are going to be ready to play ball. They're going to be ready to play hardball. But as this proceeds, they're not going to want what they've got, what the Clintons have, to come forward and be made public. They're going to try and prevent that. And the Clintons are going to be like, I told you so. That's why you got that Bill, especially. That's why you got that eight of Cups. They're going to be like, I told you so. In the meantime, let's ask this before we close out. In the meantime, will the DOJ be held in contempt for the refusal to comply with the order signed by Trump to produce the documents? Spirit, will the DOJ, will Bondi and the DOJ be held in contempt? Will there be momentum to actually hold them in contempt? Ooh, whoa, that's some heavy energy. That's some wild. I don't know if it's heavy, but it's certainly wild. All those cards started skipping. And they're telling me to cleanse. Okay. Woo, smells good though. I keep it sweet, y'all. Whenever you see me, this is essential oils and Florida water. I always keep it sweet. And I encourage you to do the same, especially when stuff is heavy. Will Bondi be held in contempt? Specifically, they're telling me to narrow it down. Will Pam Bondi be held in contempt for her role in not that wanted to come? And that's why it wanted to come. Thank you, Spirit. There's judgment. Yeah, she's in trouble. She's been in trouble, but that's another reason why whoever this was behind the scenes, whether it was her and Susie Wild, whoever these women were, and that Empress energy, to just be like, let's divert this a little bit further, so they'll stop talking to me about what I haven't produced and focus on the Clintons and what they have and potentially what could come out of that. And it's all another stalling tactic. But she's in trouble. That's Pluto. Pluto's in that judgment situation, deep. Oh, and also it's a aha. When Pluto comes, it's like, whoa, awareness, out in the open, deep transformation. You saw me. Look what came back. Judgment. I'm going to close out this reading, y'all. We done said some things for the day. All right. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best weekend ever. A couple of announcements want to make before I close out, though. Memberships. I do have memberships to the channel. I'd love to have you be a part of it. Please check the description box below. I meet with members privately, unrecorded. We chop up some things. We say some things in a supportive and safe atmosphere. So if you're interested in that, plus I have a whole playlist of videos that I've done, my little tips and secrets and things that I do that I only share on my membership portion, videos for members. So please check that out. I'd love to have you as a member. And don't forget, I've got my Practical Magic Part 2 class coming up on February 15th. You can go to my website to register for that, trulytouchedbytarot.com. All right, trulytouchedbytarot.com. Look at the book online tab, and you'll see that class listed. If you want, you don't have to have taken part 1 in order to be able to come in on part 2. But if you're interested, part 1 is still available, and I can tell you how to get that if you want to reach out to me. But definitely would love to have you there on Sunday, February 15th at, I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to get into some things about empowerment and using tarot as a tool for empowerment, not just your standard readings, but actually getting into those archetypes, recognizing the parts of you that are reflected in those archetypes so that you can begin your manifestation, your healing, your business plans, your, love life, all the rest of it, but doing that by recognizing and really embodying some of these principles and traits and power that are reflected in the major arcana archetypes. So we'll get into that. Would love to have you there. That said, deuces, I'm out. Sky above you always. Heavens, sky above you, earth beneath you. Stand 10 toes and soul within you. Infinite. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Take care. I appreciate you. Bye.